Having less than 100 possessions for a one-bag life was always a goal of mine since I started minimalism years ago. That's why this video is all about my journey going down to less than 100 possessions for a one-bag life. And at the end of the video, I will give you my single best tip why you definitely shouldn't count your items for every kind of lifestyle, even if you're not pursuing a one-bag life. So don't miss out. If you're new here, I'm Sven. Just an extreme minimalist one-bag lifer with less than 100 possessions and the desire to live his whole life out of just one carry-on sized backpack. So if you end up liking the video, don't forget to subscribe and like. But most important, share a comment with your thoughts at the end of the video, check the weekly One Bag Life community post, and join me on my journey towards a true one bag life. But I would say, let's get started. Did you ever try to achieve a goal with your lifestyle? And if yes, did you already achieve that goal or are you still on the journey? For me personally, the things or having less than 100 things in my life was always a goal of mine since I started my journey years ago when I turned to minimalism. But to be honest, I didn't ever thought that it would take so much time and so much effort and consistency to reach that goal. But to be honest, in the end, the journey was 100% worth it. I actually never counted my possessions 9 years ago before I even knew what minimalism or a one-bag life was. I just bought stuff and put it everywhere I could, in my sideboards, in my drawers, in every storage room I could technically find, and never thought about numbers or counting anything. It just started when I then turned to minimalism when I first moved out of my parents' house for the first time, that I started to actually think about the things or possessions that I have. But it was in more kind of a general way, so what I would need and what I don't need. And even though I decluttered maybe hundreds or even thousands of items and possessions, I never really had a number in mind or thought about just counting everything that I still had. It was just more getting rid of everything and knowing that I don't need anything I had before. It was only when I moved into my first apartment and needed to get everything out of the boxes that I thought maybe this would be the first time that I started actually counting my things. Because now I had a very limited space for myself and my possessions, and I thought to get a better overview of what I have and what I might need or don't need, I just count everything very, I would say, generally or roughly, so not as strict as I do it today. But this was also the first time when a number came to my mind, because I thought, oh, maybe I have, 300, 400, 500 things left, so I wanted to get down to maybe 200 or 250. This was maybe the first step that I took to get accountable of myself, that I declutter more things in the future because I still pursued minimalism, so that I can count my things and I know, okay, maybe I have still too many, so I need to declutter more. And this actually worked very, very well for me for a long time, for almost, when I think about it, maybe 3 or 4 years. So I still decluttered here and there and get my number down to maybe 300 or 350 possessions over the course of these maybe 3 or 4 years. But then I actually reached the point where I had about, I would say, 300 to 350 possessions, which might sound a lot to you right now. But if you think about it, you might have right now, 20 t-shirts and 10 different pairs of trousers in your sideboard or in your wardrobe. So still 300 to 350 things were not as many things, but it was actually at that moment when the number 100 came to my mind. And I think around this time, so maybe, 4 to 5 years into the journey of minimalism, I tried to be a little bit more extreme. So I tried to do extreme minimalism at that point, and my new goal was actually going down to 100 things in the future. But first of all, I wanted to declutter more, so I want to get down to around 200 things. And this took actually much, much longer than I ever thought it would be, because maybe the distance from 350 to 200 didn't sound like a lot of things to declutter. But when you only have 350 things, most of them you would consider as essentials or very important to you. So as long as you go down the road or down the journey to less and less things, it will get much harder and harder and take more time to actually achieve the number you have in mind. So for me, I then turned to extreme minimalism and took me, I don't know, again, I would say 3 to 4 years to even declutter from 350 things down to 200. So that was a very tough part of the journey, but it was a very rewarding as well, because only then you just realize what is really important and what not. But then actually a lucky coincidence struck into my life. And that was the possibility to go traveling for 6 months, which then turned into 1 year. And because of that chance to go traveling, I decided for myself that it is time to switch from, maybe I would say at this point it was about maybe 250 possessions, to go really down to the minimum or the essentials I would need. Because when I was traveling, at the start I had actually 2 bags and then later 1 bag, but everything I would need for 1 year or then 6 months would need to fit in 1 or 2 bags, which was tough, to be honest, because then I realized how much I would need to count my things to really know what I would pack, the weight I needed to pack, and the limited amount of space that I would have, that I need or I had to deal with for everything that I possess. So that was, as I said, the lucky coincidence that I had the chance to go maybe down to roughly around 150 items in a very, very short time. It was about, I would say, 1 year. And because of the travels, I actually realized that it is much easier than I thought to go down to my lucky number of 100 items, because during my time traveling, I actually saw that I didn't even need as much stuff as I thought I would need when I started traveling, because I had a lot of unnecessary just-in-case items, which you can see in a lot of my other videos, that I brought with me when I went traveling. So going down from 100 or actually 250 to 150 and then going down to 100, about 20 items, was a very, very fast process, because when you are traveling, you don't want to carry everything in your bag that you don't need, so you declutter a lot of things very, very quickly. And from there on, going down to less than 100 possessions was actually quite easy. Because as I said, while I was traveling, I already decluttered a lot of my things from my packing cubes and my backpack. And I actually realized that this was the perfect time to start a one-bag life. So I decided maybe, I think 2 months into traveling, that I wanted to live a one-bag life. So after 2 months, I decluttered already 1 whole backpack and sent it back to Germany. So I decided to start my one-bag life. And already while I was traveling and decluttering the things I had in my backpack, I thought about my possessions when I come back home. So I wrote down a list of all the things that I want to get rid of when I'm back here in Germany, in my home. And when I came back after 1 year, it was such a relief to have like loads and loads of things that I would just take somewhere else or donate or take to the trash, or I don't know what else I've done with it. And actually going down from about, I say, 130 or 150 things down to less than 100 possessions took me only 2 to 3 months. So that was actually very quick, but only because I had the chance to go traveling and realizing what you really need as your essentials. So almost everything I had here in Germany went back to whatever it came from, or it went back to, I don't know, the trash, or as I said, I donated it. So it was very, very easy at the end to go down to less than 100 things, because I already had a plan before I came back. As you can see, it took me a very, very long time, about 9 years, to reach my goal of less than 100 possessions for my own one-bag life. And honestly, I couldn't be happier at all with the journey and every struggle and everything I took in that time to reach that goal of mine. Because now I have much more freedom and independence from everything in my life, just because I can pack everything that I have into just one backpack and go wherever I want with it. So the journey was definitely worth it. But now that you know my journey going down to less than 100 possessions for my one-bag life, here is my single best tip why you definitely shouldn't count your possessions for any kind of lifestyle, even if you're not pursuing a one-bag life. Because it can lead to a very obsessive behavior, and actually counting your things, in my opinion, doesn't really have a real-world use. Yes, for some people it might help them to count their things to have a broader overview of what they possess and what they need and what they don't need. But in my own experience, it can very quickly and very easily lead to very obsessive behavior and always thinking about the numbers and what you have and what you can do better. So it very, very can quickly turn in an obsession to have only as little things as possible very, very easily. So you do need to be aware of that, and that's maybe the only single reason why I would say counting your things isn't that good at all. And on the other hand, there is no real world use to the number. Just because I can say I have less than 100 possessions doesn't really say anything about my life. Because yes, in my case, almost all of my possessions will fit into this 25-liter backpack. But if you count your possessions and you maybe have, I don't know, 20 possessions and 10 of these possessions are guitars, it doesn't have to really say anything about your life in regards to the number of possessions you have. So honestly, don't count your items, just maybe if you want to have a broader overview or it has a reasonable reason for you to count these. But generally, I would say start or do not start counting your items because, as I said, can lead to obsessive behavior. And as I said, there is no real world use to it. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and like, but most important, share a comment if you have ever counted your items or not, and also don't forget to check the weekly onebag live community post. The next video will be about how you can count your items for a onebag live. In the meantime, you can watch my last video where I show you the best 25-liter backpack for a onebag live in my opinion. But as always, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next video.